REA.
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 Audio.
REA Audio.
REA Audio.
REA Audio.
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 REA Audio.
Reemployability.
Dr. Claire Muselman, thanks for being back with us for actually part 4 of our 4-part series, talking about really holistically changing the workers' comp world and industry through empowerment and through focusing on the injured worker. This has been great. We've gotten great comments from folks that listen to this podcast that this has been the best series yet. And I've done 26 or 27 of them. And so it can't be me, it's got to be you. So thank you so much for your time and everything that you've given us and your insights. One of the things we kind of finished off with, we were talking about empowerment and we were talking about how to get people kind of on board with the program. You've gotten people on board with this program before. You have some success stories. And I think that's really the best way to put an exclamation point at the end of what we're talking about is some success stories. So what can you share with us?
Absolutely. So thank you for having me back. I really enjoyed this. You're a wonderful host and it's very fun to be here with you.
Thanks.
So when we look at success stories, I think it's really how we've changed the narrative as a whole in the teams that I've gotten the ability to be a part of. These teams have been amazing human beings that really see the bigger picture into the insurance industry and workers' compensation as a whole. So when we look at the intent and the purpose of insurance is to restore the livelihood of people. So the stories that we get to tell in workers' compensation are being single-handed game changers that change the trajectory of someone's life to make meaning, purpose, and value out of somebody's very worst day. And there's so much power in that. And so when we look at how we use empowerment in our team at NARS and what we've done previously in some of my other groups, is really taking that empowerment into giving choice, options, and availability to people when choice, options, and availability aren't necessarily the way that the focus has been previously. So when we talk about choice, we had a group in my prior life that decided to take a vision boarding class. And, with it being the new year, this is like the thing that everyone is doing and they're sharing them on social media and whatnot. And so one of our leaders decided that she was going to have us all do a vision boarding class so that we could help our injured workers understand how to use visualization as a success tool for their healing mechanisms. And so we had I love this story because it makes me really happy when I think about it. We had a 60-year-old woman who loved to golf with her grandchildren. And she really, this is like an avid golfer, but has a shoulder injury at work and was very, very in tune with wanting to be back on that golf course for her 60th birthday to be golfing with her grandchildren. And so, our workers recovery specialists at this organization were very adamant about getting to know this woman and figuring out who she was, what was important to her, because so many times in the workers' compensation space, we stick to our scripts and we don't actually get to know the people in which we're serving, which that's what we do. We are serving people who are injured to try and navigate a very complex system. And I think sometimes we forget that. So the workers recovery specialist gets to know this injured worker, understands that grandchildren are very important to her, and understands that golfing is her hobby. And for her 60th birthday, her goal is to get back on that golf course. And so we had just taken this vision boarding class. And so the workers recovery specialist says, okay, well, go get some pictures of you and your grandkids golfing or your favorite golf courses. And let's start posting those around your house. Put them on your your mirror. Let's put them on your fridge, put them in your bathroom and whatnot. So every time that this woman walks by or sees this, she knows what she's working towards. So when we give people these methods of empowerment, it's giving them those goals in bite-sized pieces that they have control over and they have choice in how they are going to move forward through their recovery process. So as you know, if you hurt your shoulder, it can be pretty intense, and that recovery is not an easy one. Even starting with those wall walking exercises can be very painful. But if you've got something that you're focused on and you know where you're going and you can think and feel like you can feel the breeze of being on that golf course, you know what the sun feels like, you hear the laughter of your grandchildren's voices, there's a lot of emphasis that can be placed on that visualization that can help in the healing process. And so truth be told, this woman goes through everything, and on her 60th birthday, our workers recovery specialist gets a card after the birthday saying, got there, here's a picture of me and my grandkids golfing. So here's the highlight of that. So great that she got back to the golf course. Yes, she got to go back out with her kids, but in the process, she went right back to work because most of the restrictions that were going to be on her for the shoulder were going to be alleviated if she could get that golf swing down. They were one and the same. The thing is, we get so fixated in this industry about job descriptions and can you do that job and what can't you do or what, and we really should be thinking about what can you do. But a lot of times people have these things called hobbies that are outside of the work environment, yet they are very similar to the tasks that you need to complete in a work dynamic. But we choose to focus on the person in a holistic capacity versus focusing the injured worker only in their work environment. And so by focusing it in this capacity and using an illustrative visualization technique, we could have better conversations, enhanced communication, and an actual visualization of where we were headed throughout the process, all because the workers' recovery specialist chose to pay attention to the human being on that other side versus just thinking it as a claim and checking the boxes to move forward. And it was really cute. It was one of the neatest photos. I love seeing the photos. The photos always make me know that our team's doing something cool because this person took the time, one, to print out a photo, which, these days it's usually just, sending through text or email.
Yeah.
But when they print out a photo and then they mail it, there's just something that's so powerful about that. And it's really impressive when they want to share dynamics like that because it's a ripple effect that then shoots through our whole team, showing not only the leader who had the idea to bring it to the table that was like, we should try this. Everyone talks about doing this at the beginning of the year. What if we taught our injured workers how to showcase, what do you want to be after your work comp claim? Well, let's get some photos. Let's put them out and tell me what they're like.
That's
It's
perfect.
A very unique technique.
Yeah.
Fascinating and very fun to see it actually work. But
it's
I can't
great.
tell you any other organization that teaches their quote unquote adjusting team how to
vision board, right?
visualization and vision boarding with their injured workers. So unique concept.
And I got to give you credit for finding those people to be on the team that are willing to do that, because I am sure that there's people that you get on teams that are hired that are just like, come on, that, we talked about that in one of our other episodes is, you have to have the right people on board that are willing to try different things to be successful and think outside the box. And if you're not willing to be on the train, then it's not going to work out. And that's a tough decision sometimes.
Well, and I will tell you that you sometimes just need to give people the ability, again, when we look at choice and empowerment, I will tell you, this leader is fantastic, still over there leading. And I think we'll celebrate 43 years with the organization.
Wow. That's unheard of.
There are amazing ideas everywhere. People need choice and they need to feel empowered to be able to suggest these ideas. Because a lot of times, I think that, Eric Thomas says the wealth of knowledge is in the graveyard or something like that. I'm totally butchering the quote. It's like the most wealthy place is the graveyard because there you will find all of the ideas that never came to fruition and whatnot. So we as leaders within an organization or within the workers' compensation space have to start turning around and opening our ears and using active listening versus always trying to bark out orders. Or we should do it this way, or no, the laws say this. Statutes and regulations should be a foundation, and all the extra stuff like using visualization and vision boarding as a technique with injured workers, that should be the stuff that separates out your insurance companies and your TPAs, the ones that are willing to go above and beyond to make your employees feel like they are valued and they're actually human beings, because it makes all the difference in the world from a healing process. And in turn, the insurance companies and the TPAs that allow these type of ideas help create meaning and purpose in a completely different way, because it expands what we have been, what do I want to use? Kind of beaten into us about what we're supposed to do in our jobs. And it gets them to be creative and artistic in ways that we never imagined possible because we simply just hadn't tried it.
Who would have ever thought that creativity would be a job description of a workers' comp adjuster, right?
I know, right? Yeah.
So you said you had a couple stories. Do you have anything in particular? So like, I know we get resistance on our end when we're getting injured workers into our program at Reemployability. I'm sure that there are injured workers that offer resistance when you're trying to be as proactive and empowering as you are at NARS. Tell us a story of someone that you were able to overcome, that you were able to get to overcome some of that resistance, if you have one.
So there is a gentleman who I have gotten to work with multiple times who's amazing and isn't at NARS, but fantastic human being that I've had the privilege of being on the same team with.
Mhm.
And this gentleman was not able to return to his employer. And so we were moving forward with a third-party partner to help us find this person employment. And what we ended up doing was trying to explain the why. Because he's like, I'm not going back to work. I'm just gonna be a perm total. And he's like, I don't want to be a perm total. That's not really what I want to do. And so this gentleman with this workers recovery specialist was really working with him on, okay, so tell me, like, what are you interested in? And you know what, like taking it again into, all right, so you're not going to return with your employer because they're not going to take you back because of your restrictions. All right, well, what are you interested in? Like, let's go back to kindergarten. What did you want to be when you grew up? And so this person, he was like, hey, can just send me your resume? Let's take a look. So they go through his resume and find out this guy has like a master's in social work. That's not what it was, but it was a master's in something. And so they start going through, and we end up going through like this third party, and we are working in tandem with a group to try and find this gentleman a career path that will be suitable with his work restrictions moving forward. And he ends up getting the job that he intended to want out of college anyway. Now, that's not the way his career path went, but I think he was 42 years old. It was on the East Coast. I remember some of the details of this. But it was awesome because I remember when he got the job offer, the voicemail that came through to our workers recovery specialist was intense. It was, I got my dream job. Thank you for taking the time to just ask me the right questions. And it really was about that because again, it's going about, all right, so who's that person on the other line? Who is that? Like, is family important to them? What interests them? Because you know what, maybe the career path that he was currently on, all right, so he gets injured. All right, sometimes the world forces you to get uncomfortable to go do what you were really intended to do. And I believe that those things happen all the time. But this was a time where an adjuster doesn't necessarily have to do that. You can just be like, okay, well, we're going to move you into Voc, or we're going to try and get you another job, or whatever it might be. And again, it's always very state specific, but generally, and then it gets turned over and there's not a lot of communication. This person really took an investment in his injured worker because he cared about him as a human being, human to human. What would you want? Finds out he's got like a master's that wasn't being utilized and is able to capitalize on that to get him a job that he ended up making more money at than he was previously working at. So he gets what he wanted, a better salary, which could and could not have been important to him at that point, but it ends up being a successful story for that person. And this is going above and beyond what the normal scope of the job is, but from the ripple effect and the impact and what that says, like, again, on the insurance side, that's great for the employer, but it's also an amazing thing to do in that adjusting space of making good things happen for people and taking a very uncomfortable, unbelievable, vulnerable time where somebody wasn't planning on getting injured, gets injured, can't go back to their job, but holy cow, wait, here's a whole new career path and let us help you get there.
What a terrific, when doors close, other doors open, and that's just, and if you're just listening to this, you can't see Dr. Claire like beaming when she tells this story. We do have clips on YouTube that you can check out, but to close things up, I'm curious with you. You were just in Florida for a session on kind of rejuvenating yourself, right? Yeah. You have incredible power. You have an incredible power about you that is attracting, and energy is the word I'm looking for, right? Yeah. And positive outlook. And how do you maintain that? Because it's very easy for people in your type of position. Sure. I try to stay, as a sales leader, I try to stay positive and happy for everybody and moving people forward. But there's times when I wake up and I go, oh gosh, I don't want to do that today. How do you do that?
So I will tell you funny that you're going to say that. So we were just talking about burnout at this, it was the workers' compensation wellness retreat. It was its 5th annual. Yvonne does a great job of putting it on. It's been owned by a couple of different organizations, but it's fantastic. So if you're in the work comp industry, and this is an amazing thing in January every year, I live in Iowa, so I like to go down because it's cold here and it's great there, but there's so much greatness and power that comes from the vulnerability of everyone sharing stories about like, how do we keep our teams engaged? How do we help burnout? What are we going to do as we go into another year of the pandemic? But it's very cool. So when we talk a lot about that, I think it always goes back to like, what is for me, like, what's my purpose? And, I do run hard, but what people fail to realize is like the travel is super invigorating for me. I get to go touch a lot of people's lives. And when I hear people say, okay, we tried this, or we tried this, like Montana and Tennessee are my two favorite states at the moment, because they're the groups that I've gotten to go to a couple of times now and talk. And then I come back and I hear what organizations have done, or they show me, or they like in Montana, I got to see the plans of people that were like, hey, we started this advocacy program. Can you look at this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's happening. And so it's one of the things I wish the industry would do a better job of is sharing these success stories, because that's what gets me excited. It's like, oh, it's not just me saying this, like people actually like this is happening. And then you hear the success stories of an injured worker. And yes, I know people have a lot of cases on their desks. I don't want to call them claims because these are families, but that ripple effect is so incredibly huge. And I think about it even within our relationships within the workers' compensation space. One conversation that we have with someone else can completely change the trajectory of your day. And I wish people understood that in a bigger concept, because we're heading into another year of an unforeseen circumstance. I just got told today that our university is going virtual for the first 2 weeks of the semester. And I'm teaching an 8 a.m. class. So I think, oh my gosh, my students are going to be so tired and probably not alert, but it'll be okay. We'll make it. So then it's like, okay, fill myself first and then project it out. And so burnout's real. I definitely was really tired after WCI. But I think we've got to remember the impact that we have. And I love going back to like our families and our children and thinking about like, what do they see? What future do we hold for them tomorrow? And I've been talking a lot recently on mentorship, but what are we giving back? Because I would think the one thing that makes me empowered more than anything is that ability to go share my story with someone else so they can have a different path and not make the same mistakes that I did. Or they can figure out, okay, this is for me. This isn't for me. What do you think about this? And really trying to create what the future is going to look like. Because the thing that I've realized in this space is that if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it either.
Right.
So be that change that you want to see. And then when you start to see those ripples of people stepping into their authentic self or stepping into leadership roles that they might not have been given a chance to in the previously, those are those moments that we've got to do a better job of celebrating and really bringing to light, because that's what the beauty of this is. I really wish workers' compensation was branded as social work, because that's what it is. We get to help people that cannot help themselves in a system that wasn't designed for ease of use. It's no different than, a lot of the other government entities. We just need to think about it in terms of we're here to help people. We're here to make good things happen for people. And yes, I know there's always going to be the one-off, but get your negativity out of my space, because you can just turn on the news if you want that.
Right.
Protect your energy, put up some boundaries, and go be awesome for people.
I love it. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, I know you do speaking engagements, any questions that they might have because they want to empower their team or they want to change the culture in their business so that it's more in line with what we talked about these past couple of weeks. What's the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. My LinkedIn is Glitter and Sparkles, because that is what I want to leave in this industry, so that by the time whatever happens when I'm many moons gone, probably like in 35, 40 years from now, there will be a beautiful blazing trail of glitter and sparkles.
I love it. Dr. Claire Muselman, thank you so much for these past couple of weeks. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Todd. Love what you guys are doing at Reemployability. Thank you.
Thanks for listening this week to ReAudio. If you have any comments or suggestions for an upcoming episode, please let us know. You can email Todd at reemployability.com. Also, please follow ReAudio on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Stitcher or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check out more content at listentorea.com. Yashika Williams is back with us next week to give us an attorney's perspective into 2022 and help get you up to speed on workers' comp trends in the law. See you next week. Have an awesome and impactful rest of your day.